Hello YouTube and welcome back. My name is Kabul and today we'll be finally starting our new fortress. So I've already pre-gened a world, so we can just jump straight into it. It's called the Destined Realm. So here we are in Trammelpick. Now let's learn a little bit about what's around us. As you can see here with the blue boxes is our origin civilization, and they are called the Tongues of Mobs. To the north of us, there's an elven civilization, and it is called the Sheens of Prison. Further to the west, it looks like there is a human civilization here that we don't have contact with, called the Fortunes of Tempting. And then even further west is the Goblin civilization, called the Hatred of Splattering. But we are right here, Trammelpick, in the middle of the continent of sands, in the jungle of rooters. As you can see, it's a heavily forested area, so let's start by chopping down some trees. While those trees are getting chopped down, we're actually going to go ahead and digging down, so that we can create some shelter for our dwarves. Now that we dug out a little space for ourselves, I'm going to create a meeting area, so that all of our dwarves can go there and hang out for now. I'm also going to create a pasture for our draft animals so they don't starve to death underground. I'm going to go ahead and continue digging down until we hit rock. Next, I'm going to create a temporary stockpile for all of our stuff in the wagons. Now that we have our general stockpile down, our dwarves are going to go ahead and grab everything from the wagon. I'm going to go ahead and start digging out an area where we can start putting up our food workshops. And I'm going to start turning this small meeting area into a plot for farms. With our farm plots built, we can go ahead and start growing some plump helmets, which will always be useful to have. Waiting for them to store everything, let's talk about our dwarves. So here we are. We have Olan, our miner, Nish, our woodworker, Rawl, our mason, Rith, our stonecrafter, Dadok, our fisher dwarf, Zasset, our planter, and Atir, our expedition leader. I'm going to give Rawl our extra pickaxe so he can help Olan dig. So we struck magnetite, which means we have access to iron. With the small area dug out now, we can start building our kitchen workshops. So we need a butcher, a still for drinks, a fishery for, well, fish. And finally, the kitchen itself. Next to our kitchen, I'm going to dig out a small spot where we can put our food stockpile for now. With our food industry set up, we can now begin creating workshop areas for crafts. With the room dug out, now we can place down our workshops. First, we're going to build a stoneworker, then a carpenter, crafts, and a mechanic. With our workshops built, now we can start making things. So let's start by making some rock blocks. I'm also going to queue up 2 tables and 2 chairs. Now that we have that furniture being made, we can start creating 2 rooms for our manager and bookkeeper. I'm also going to pen up our 2 cats to kill the vermin in our food stockpile. Atir, our expedition leader, is an adequate organizer, thus he makes a good candidate for manager. Zasset, our planter, is a proficient record keeper, which makes him good for bookkeeping. Now that both tables and chairs are placed, we can go ahead and assign them to it. Now that they both have an office, they can do their jobs. Now that we have a manager, we can create work orders. We're going to create 2 work orders: prepare easy meal and brew drink from plant. I've edited the work order to add a condition of amount of unrotten prepared meals available is less than 10, so when there's less than 10 units of prepared meals, it will make 10 more. I've also done the same thing for drinks. Now that we have the basics of food and drink set up, we can start creating crafts. And we're going to make 20 crafts because we need to prepare for when the trade caravan arrives. And now that I mention it, we also need a depot. So we're going to use those blocks we made earlier to create a depot. I'm also going to edit the general stockpile to not accept any of the crafts that we make. So this stockpile won't get amulets, bracelets, crowns, earrings, figurines, large gems, and rings. Instead, we'll be creating a separate stockpile for those crafts. Now that we have the basics down, we can start creating a space for our dwarves to sleep. I think for now we're just going to carve out a small area and create a temporary dormitory for our dwarves to sleep. And to that effect, we actually need a work order for beds. We're also going to build a space where our dwarves can eat. And for a dining area, we'll just be needing tables and chairs. And just like that, the spring is over and now it's summer. So let's go ahead and designate this room as a dormitory, and then we'll place down the beds. Rith, our stonecrafter, has created a masterpiece chert scepter. I think it's time to make some bins for our stuff to be stored. We'll also make some barrels too, just in case. We're going to turn this room into a dining hall before we place the furniture. With the tables and chairs placed, now our dwarves will go here to eat, instead of eating wherever they are. It looks like Rawl, our mason, is lovers with our expedition leader Atir. I'm going to create a small outside stockpile for wood. I'm going to create another room for more workshops. Turns out we have a lot of shells, so we can actually use those for crafting. So anytime we have more than 10 shells, go ahead and make 10 crafts out of shells. It seems like some of our dwarves are getting a little annoyed about having to drink without a cup, goblet, or mug, so I'm going to go ahead and make some. We're just going to make 5 rock mugs. I think I'm going to create a little storage area for food, drink, and mugs. I'm going to create 2 separate stockpiles, one for the food and drink and one for the mugs. I'm going to disable prepared meals and drinks for the old food stockpile. I still want this stockpile to store raw food, but I want this one close to the dining hall to be used for to prepared meals and drinks. Looks like we finally got our first migration wave. We actually got a big migration wave. An animal dissector named Kogan, Udil the furnace operator, Tulon the gem cutter, Asmel the clothier, Ilral the brewer, Adil and Mistam, 2 carpenters, and Kivish, another mason. It looks like all of our dwarves are still using the wagon as a meeting area, so we're going to go ahead and remove it. Now we're going to put up some more workshops. We're going to start with the jeweler, a metalsmith's forge, a wood furnace, and finally a smelter. I think it's time to turn the meeting hall into a tavern. Our tavern is going to be called the Sugar of Shields, and it's going to be citizens only. We're going to make 2 chests for the tavern so that they can store instruments and goblets. I didn't notice this before, but we got one of our migrants is named Nish, and he's a bone doctor, which will be useful for later. We're going to go ahead and get started on creating actual rooms for our dwarves. I think we're going to do blocks of 4 rooms. To prepare for when the trade caravan comes, we're gonna assign ourselves a broker. Looks like Tulon, our gem cutter, is the best for the job. He has a good spread of all of the skills necessary. We're going to get started on those furnishings for our rooms, so we're going to need beds, doors, cabinets, chests, chairs, and tables for our dwarves' rooms. It is the 9th of limestone, and our outpost liaison has arrived. The expedition leader, Atir Zonstigaz, meets with the outpost liaison, Brigoth Avendaban. I am your liaison from the mountain homes. Let's discuss your situation. There is much to share. I think I'm going to order a bunch of leather and cloth because I want to start making clothes for our dwarves. I'm also going to ask for some turkey gobblers and turkey hens so that we can start producing eggs. Discuss what we are willing to offer for your craft store ship. A need for legwear and bracelets is expected, and if you are able to provide some, the caravan will offer 204% and 196% respectively. This export agreement only applies to trades next year, not with any merchants currently present. Okay. The caravan merchants have arrived at the trade depot and are currently unloading what they have. While not super valuable, we're going to go ahead and trade what crafts we do have with them. Toulon here is on her way to the trade depot and will begin trading shortly. Now let's see what we can get. So we're gonna try and get some cloth, an entire bin of leather, and some cheese. And he seems to have accepted it. It's time once again to expand the workshops. Dwarven industry is booming. I'm actually going to move this mechanics workshop to the new area and replace it with a carpenter shop. It also looks like we got some more migrants, so let's have a look at them. So we got a single migrant called Stodier, and he's a Gelder. Actually, it looks like we got some more. It looks like we got a couple more carpenters too. It's starting to get a little hard to keep track of them all. I'm starting to think that this wood stockpile is a little too far away, so I think we're going to create a stockpile underground near the workshops. I think I'm going to put the wood stockpile in this new room for now. I think I'm going to get started on metal production, but first we actually have to make some charcoal. So we'll make 20 charcoal for now, and then we're also going to smelt some of that magnetite ore. I think now I'm going to move the stoneworker's workshop to the new area where I put the mechanic workshop and replace it with a craft store shop. Even with that shell crafts work order, we still have plenty of shells, so I'm actually going to bump it up. Make 30 instead. We need to replenish our stocks of logs. Now that the furnishings for the rooms are done, I've placed them down. But 8 rooms isn't going to cut it. We're actually going to have to expand again. Almost forgot to designate them as bedrooms. I think we need more blocks for construction. You know, I think we have so much wood around that I think we can actually make this a conditional order so that it repeats. I never want to run out of charcoal, at least for now. I'm also going to do the same with this magnetite. Well, I found an interesting little dwarf. It seems like we have a dwarf blacksmith necromancer, and he's possessed by a strange mood. He grabbed a bar of iron and now is making something. He keeps muttering, Uthrimasol. Wonder what he's making. Zasset, our dwarf blacksmith necromancer, has created Uthrimasol, an iron throne. He offers it to the polished hands. Let's take a look closer at this iron throne. This is an iron throne. All craft worship is of the highest quality. The object menaces with spikes of iron. Likot, Nish, and Zasset are here partying. It looks like they just got done singing a song, and it's called the Musical Fragrances at the Sugar of Shields. That's interesting. I'm starting to think there's something not quite right about Zasset here. Well, aside from the fact that he's a necromancer. He doesn't look like he has much in the way of thoughts and feelings. I'm going to switch one of these farm plots over to cave wheat, and then the other to pigtails, just to diversify what we have. It looks like the winter has finally arrived. I've created an outside dumping spot for corpses and refuse, just so nothing stinks up our fortress. I think it's about time we start fortifying the surface by creating some walls and bridges around our fortress entrance. Oh no, one of our stray dogs has been missing. I wonder what happened to him. Now that the walls are finished, all we need to do is build some bridges to act as gates. We're also going to need some rock mechanisms to create a lever and to connect the bridges to that lever. Using one of the mechanisms, we're going to first place down the lever. I just realized I think we're going to need one more additional mechanism for both of the bridges. Next, we're going to link the levers to both of the bridges. Now with both bridges linked, when the lever is pulled, they will go up, thus creating essentially a wall. And just like that, the first year is over. We have survived. We went from 7 dwarves to 23, and we've managed to create lodgings and industries with which to use those dwarves to create goods. And that will be all for now. See you next time.